The journey of the Shield Demon community can be divided into two categories: the loser 4chan incel lowlives that can be found on r/shieldbro, and us chads who are smart enough not to fall for Devil Fumi's brainwashing techniques. Yeah, you heard that right. If you're a supporter of the devil of the Shield, Devil Fumi, you're currently under his control, brainwashed to do his bidding and believe his lies. This video aims to dispel the curse Devil Fumi placed on the Shield Demon community by explaining the origins behind Devil Fumi's brainwashing shield. Before we start out, I'm going to give you a test to see if Devil Fumi's brainwashing shield has any influence on you. If you answer the question correctly, you're free of his influence. But if you answer incorrectly, it means the devil of the shield has some level of influence over you. The question is, which episode of the anime marks the start of the story? If you answered episode 1, you're currently being influenced by the devil of the shield. In reality, the episode that actually marks the start of the story is actually episode 6, A New Comrade. Episode 6 shows Devil Fumi traveling a lot, trying to find a magic stone to make Philo's clothes stop ripping whenever she transforms like SpongeBob's ripped pants. It's a pretty simple episode, but why of all episodes is this the start of the story? Well, it's because this is the episode that contains the scene where Devil Fumi first obtains his brainwashing shield, or at least unlocks the prerequisites for it. At time code 1630, Devil Fumi and his party encounter a special monster called the Voice Gengar. It's a bat-like enemy that has the ability to trick its prey into thinking that their party members are saying bad things about them behind their backs.
I'm sick and tired of being Master Naofumi's slave. I only pretended to become a slave again to kill him with my own hands. Master is my light!
Hey! Something cut me!
The monsters provoke you. They do it by saying the last things you want to hear and the last voices you want saying them.
This ends up creating confusion and division within the party, allowing the bat to swoop in and attack them. Does this sound familiar? The ability to alter the perception of those around you, ultimately creating division within a unified party. Almost like, I don't know, a brainwashing shield altering the perception of the four heroes? We're getting ahead of ourselves though. Devil Fumi and his party managed to defeat the Voice Gengar, and then Devil Fumi absorbed their corpses, unlocking the Voice Gengar shield. What's especially interesting about this is that immediately after unlocking the shield, he comments,
"I don't see how that's going to come in handy."
Which is done to imply a level of importance to the shield without making it obvious to the viewers. Most viewers will argue that the true plot importance of the shield came later in the episode when they went up against the Chimera in the cave, but what's strange is that the stated ability of the shield doesn't match up with any of the abilities of the monster it came from. According to the anime, the Voice Gengar shield has the ability to amplify sound similar to a megaphone, but the shield quote-unquote hero specializes in defense and support, so how does sound amplification fall under defense or support roles of the shield, and why would a monster that specializes in sensory manipulation create a shield that amplifies sound? The answer? The answer is actually quite simple. It doesn't actually amplify sound at all. It alters the perception of the people around him to perceive the sound as louder than it actually is. It's such a tiny difference in how the ability actually works, but that one simple difference is what not only allows for the brainwashing shield's existence, but also explains why it's exclusive to the shield hero. You see, the ability to amplify sound isn't really a support ability, but the ability to alter the enemy's perception, well, that's a special type of support ability called a debuff. Since the shield hero specializes in defense and support, it stands to reason that he'd have access to many support skills that the other three heroes don't have access to. Just like he can't use the attack skills that they have, they can't use the support skills that he has, and that's why only the Devil of the Shield has access to the brainwashing debuff. Don't believe me? If that's the case, how come it lines up with absolutely everything stated by the other characters in the show? Normally in all of their worlds, the shield was the weakest unit, a unit that nobody played because it couldn't do any damage.
As far as I've ever seen, the Shielder class that specializes in the shield is for losers because no true gamers ever play it.
How about in your worlds?
Sorry, man.
Shielders suck.
Meanwhile, Devil Fumi comes along and he has all this crazy power. They said he has an overpowered shield, that he's much more powerful than they were.
Tell us how you got your hands on that cheat shield of yours.
In fact, they got class upgrades and he was running circles around them even though he didn't and his party didn't. They had more party members at higher levels. They trained for longer, yet Devil Fumi seems to be stronger. And why is that the case? It's his overpowered brainwashing shield. Question then becomes, how did he obtain the brainwashing shield from the voice Gengar shield? And for that, we need to jump ahead 2 episodes to episode 8, Her Shield. In episode 8, Devil Fumi is tasked with cleaning up the remains of a dragon that Ren killed. However, the dragon somehow comes back to life and killed Philo. After seeing the dragon swallow Philo, Devil Fumi has flashbacks of the time he spent with her and questions to himself, quote,
Again? Am I going to lose it all again? Is this world going to take everything from me again?
before text presumably appears in his mind asking if he seeks power and hates everything. What's strange about this scene is its presentation. It's consistent in style with the previous times Devil Fumi got angry, but for some reason this time it's much more powerful, and at the same time it's clear that this isn't just a visual representation that the animators used to illustrate his emotions, rather this is how he actually is currently perceiving the world. This is evident by the fact that we, the viewers, are seeing text on screen, but not only is he reading it, but he's responding to it, implying that we are seeing exactly what he is seeing at that current moment.
Power. Hate. I hate it all.
He said he hates everything, but what does everything have to do with Philo's death? He has flashes of the king and mine in his head as he's saying that he hates everything, but what do they have to do with Philo's death? They had absolutely nothing to do with Philo's death, so why would he blame them for her death? Let's consider who he could have reasonably blamed for this. He could have blamed the dragon, obviously. I mean, the dragon is what killed Philo. If he wanted to, maybe he could even blame himself for not being strong enough to protect her. He could have even went as far as to blame Ren for not disposing of the dragon's corpse, which allowed it to come back to life and kill Philo. At least that would be understandable. But blaming Mine and the king for Philo's death? That just doesn't make any sense. In fact, while I can understand his anger, he must have known that being an adventurer and fighting monsters isn't exactly a safe career, and it's completely normal for monsters to kill party members, so even if he was angry, shouldn't that anger be placed on the dragon that killed Philo rather than the world around him? Here's an even better question. Why is it that this was the incident that allowed him to activate the Rage Shield for the first time to begin with? This isn't the first time he's at least gotten angry enough to trigger it. The first time that happened was back in episode 4. The episode where he dueled Motoyasu in order to keep Raftalia as a slave, and in spite of being humiliated publicly by the 3 people he despised most in this world, Motoyasu, the king, and Mine, and then cheating on him out of the win, and then nobody willing to call him out on this, all to rip the one person in this world that he actually cares about away from him against both of their wills, that somehow was not enough to activate it. But seeing a party member die from a standard work hazard that isn't even anybody's fault, that was not only enough to activate it, but for him to blame the king and Mine for it? The point is, none of this adds up on face value. Well, that is, until you try comparing the Rage Shield trigger scenes from the 2 episodes. In episode 4, prior to even triggering the Rage Shield, we see Devil Fumi in the same delusional dreamlike state that we see him in episode 8 immediately before triggering the Rage Shield. It's undeniable that this view he currently has of reality is not a proper reflection of reality itself. Yet at the same time, this is without question how he is currently perceiving the world. What that means is that what he sees is not actually what reality is. We get to see through his eyes what he sees, as the slave crest is being removed from Raftalia's chest, and this single scene explains everything. Seeing the world through Devil Fumi's distorted perspective, we see Raftalia but as a child for some reason, even though by this point in the story it's been well established that she grew up already. Then in an echoey dreamlike voice, the king says, "Begin." and they remove the slave crest, but what's with the echo effects? And after this, Raftalia seemingly turns around and says,
This is goodbye.
Monsters provoke you. They do it by saying the last things you want to hear in the last voices you want saying them.
quote, the last thing you want to hear in the last voice you want saying them. The echo effects in the voices matches perfectly, while also in both cases it's basically confirmed that Devil Fumi's perception of reality isn't actually matching what's really happening. While this scene is strange and has a lot of really small things wrong with it, it makes a lot more sense to take it at face value than to assume that somehow Devil Fumi's brainwashing shield was able to travel back in time to affect him at this specific point in time for whatever reason. We should defer to Occam's razor on this, which states that the simple solution is usually the correct one, and simply it's a lot simpler to assume that for some reason we just take the scene at face value than to assume he has a time-traveling brainwashing shield. But no, that's because that's not actually what's going on here. Remember what I said at the start of the video? Which episode of the anime marks the start of the story? If you answered episode 1, you're currently being influenced by the Devil of the Shield. Episode 1 is not the start of the story, it's episode 6. And I also mentioned that the voice Gengar shield is not amplifying sound, it's changing everyone's perception to perceive the sound as louder than it actually is, an ability that falls much more in line with the abilities of the monster that the shield came from. Well, by obtaining that shield, Devil Fumi obtained the ability to alter the perception of those around him, including himself, but only to the same degree, if not a lesser degree, than the voice Gengar itself, and he doesn't consciously know he can do that. 2 episodes later, when Philo died, he got angry enough to trigger the Rage Shield, but something was different this time. With the unconscious ability to alter his own perception of reality, it created an exponential loop of anger, where the Rage Shield amplified his anger, and the voice Gengar shield tricked him into thinking that his anger-fueled beliefs were actually real, making him even angrier. During this process, he blamed the world around him for Philo's death, leading to a delusional Devil Fumi to construct a false scenario in his mind where what led up to this point wasn't a result of his own failures, rather that the world is just against him. To support this idea in his delusional mind, he came up with this entire fantasy where Mind falsely accused him of rape and the entire country is just against the shield hero for no reason, when in reality they couldn't be further from the truth. The Three Heroes Church is an entire religion that the entire country practices that is about treating the shield as a devil. The fact that the other 3 heroes outright stated that the Shielder class in the games they played was so worthless that the devs considered removing it entirely, and even Devil Fumi himself at the start of the series, when he said that the Shielder is not even a real hero considering that the shield isn't a weapon.
Each hero wields a distinctive weapon. A sword, a spear, a bow, or a shield. Yeah, but a shield's not really a weapon, it's more like armor.
He created this entire fantasy in his mind just to justify the fact that he can't accept that everything that's happened to him up until this point has solely been because of his decisions and his misjudgments, and as a result, because of the voice Gengar shield and because of the Rage shield, it amplified it, so now he perceives this delusion as reality. The result of the exponential anger allowed him to unlock a hidden shield under the Rage shield category called the Sensory Override Shield, a shield with the passive ability to override the senses of those around him in order to believe what he believes. Basically, they will act according to how he believes they would act. This isn't unprecedented in Shield Demon canon either, since the famous Iron Maiden is a result of him learning Shield Prison Chain Shield and then using the Rage Shield, and I could already hear you guys typing that if that were the case, then he'd only be able to change what people see in the future, so how would he have made everyone believe the false rape accusation which happened in the past? The answer is very simple, actually. He didn't have to alter anyone's perception of the past to begin with. All he had to do was alter your perception of the present. The events you saw on screen, that's not what actually happened. You're seeing the world the way Devil Fumi wants you to see it. Occam's razor, the simple solution is usually the correct one. Is it simpler to say that the entire world is randomly just against the shield hero? That the other 3 heroes are so bad at their jobs that Devil Fumi is going around cleaning up after them? that the king needlessly targets the shield, thinking that will somehow save his country, and that even after sparing Mine's life, after she begged and pleaded for mercy, that she'd still try to poison him? Or is it simpler to believe that Devil Fumi, jealous of the other 3 heroes for having actual weapons while he's stuck with this dingy shield, lashes out at the people around him? This causes nobody to want to party with him. The one girl who takes pity on him, he rapes, thinking that it's basically just a video game world and that she's effectively just an NPC. After everyone found out, he blames the pitiful, worthless shield. If only I was the spear hero, none of this would be happening. With everyone justifiably being against him, losing control of his life, by his own admission, he bought Raftalia, hoping that bringing suffering upon her would allow him to feel some semblance of control in his life. Devil Fumi buys this little slave girl, thinking he could grind XP as much as he wants without having to lift a finger, since after all, it's just this little raccoon NPC girl. It's not like she has any real emotions. But meanwhile, Motoyasu understands the real value of these people, that they're real people with real emotions, and thus he's causing legitimate psychological damage to these people. He steps up and tries to fight Devil Fumi, and after winning, he sets Raftalia free. The thing is though, she gets captured the next day by the slave trader, and then the slave trader extorts him out of a lot of money, but Devil Fumi accepted it since the slave trader threw in the Filial egg. In order to recoup what he spent though to buy back Raftalia, he ended up having to extort money out of Loot Village by threatening them, and after Motoyasu found out, he decided to confront Devil Fumi. As a result, they ended up having the race, and in order so that way he could win, Devil Fumi forced Filo to run so fast that she nearly hurt herself. And then after realizing that the village doesn't even have any money for him to extort thanks to the rebuilding effort, he took the wagon and forced Filo to pull it. And in his mind, Filials just like backbreaking work, so let's burden Filo even more. As they were traveling, they caused trouble basically everywhere they went. Devil Fumi sold the plant that went out of control to the first village, and then forced them to pay to clean up the mess he created. Meanwhile, all this abuse is starting to take its toll on Philo. For God's sake, she's an infant, not even a month old, and he's forcing her to pull wagons, fight monsters, and more. By the time they get to the next village and discover that everyone's sick because of the dragon zombie, Devil Fumi foolishly accepts the quest to kill it, ignoring his slaves' complaints of being exhausted and needing rest. Upon encountering the dragon zombie, he ordered Philo to attack it directly while Raftalia flanks from behind as he waits on the sidelines doing absolutely nothing. Forced to obey though, Philo ends up dying in the assault, and Raftalia nearly dies too. It's not my fault, it's this stupid shield. The world is against the shield. Unable to accept that everything that happened was a result of his poor decisions, he blames the world around him for his errors, and in the process unlocks the sensory override shield due to the exponential anger caused by the combination of the voice Gengar shield and the rage shield. To justify his beliefs that none of this was his fault, he came up with a series of events that we see play out on screen as a psychological defense mechanism, and as a result, from that point forward, all the other characters begin to believe his distorted worldview to reflect reality. If everything you're seeing is this distorted worldview, eventually, over time, even if it contradicts what you originally believed, you will begin to believe it. Mine simply, though, couldn't accept this distorted worldview thanks to the psychological scars that Devil Fumi caused her, and this contradiction between her deep-rooted scars and the distorted worlds that she's currently seeing allowed her to come to the conclusion that Devil Fumi must have some sort of brainwashing shield, and this explains why mine did absolutely nothing wrong. Post-editing Ralph here. Fun fact, this video was almost cancelled. It was almost cancelled because I got bored with it, because I was having a lot of problems towards the end with the editing, because of the fact that I had to use a lot of clips from the anime, and because every time I tried to get clips from the anime, I was running into some kind of issue. But, long story short, I decided maybe, I don't even know, 4 to 6 months later, let me just come back to it and finish it up. I thought it would be another 5 more hours of editing, turned out to be a lot less than 5 hours. Anyways, now to the original post-editing, post-recording commentary thing, because, whatever, moving on. Oh yeah, video is basically over, by the way. The rest of this is just commentary. Video's over. Thank you guys for watching that. Oh my god, I'm tired. I've been recording for 4 hours straight because I just one-shot the entire script and had to... whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyways, as many of you probably realized, this video is entirely intended as a joke. It's not real. Okay, I want to discuss a few things first. Originally, when I came up with this video idea, I intended it as a troll. Then I started doing some research because in my mind, I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, let me do some research. And then I found like a whole bunch of excuses to legitimately claim that, you know something, maybe he does have a brainwashing shield. And then after asking a bunch of people on the Shield Hero Discord server, it turns out that a lot of this is, basically, this isn't possible. Everything that I said in this video, again, joke video. But I decided to make the video anyways, just because, you know what? Fun video, fun concept, let's just have fun with it anyways. The main reason nothing I said in this video is possible is because of the fact that, at least as far as I understand it, all the heroes have a certain level of parity with the skills. So basically, Devil Fumi wouldn't. Now I'm stuck with Devil Fumi in my. Now Fumi isn't capable of having a brainwashing shield, and then the other heroes would not have access to it. So if we were to assume that now Fumi did have a brainwashing shield, then the other characters would also be able to get it. So that's like the whole, oh, this thing is not, but there's also a bunch of other reasons, but that's like the main thing. In theory, some people were saying that it might be possible to get a brainwashing skill, but not through the Rage Shield. I think they said it was through the Pride Shield or something like that. It's complicated. I don't want to get into it. It involves some spoilers. I didn't care about spoilers, but I know a lot of you probably will. I probably said too much as it is, but you guys get the idea. This theory is not even a real theory. This video was entirely made for the sake of having fun with the concept. If you guys liked this video, I put much more work than I would like to admit just into the conceptualization and scripting of this video. I don't even know how much work I'm going to put into the editing of this thing. This thing is going to be a nightmare to edit. How long is it actually even? Let me check right now. Filter by length. Yeah, this is going to be a long video. There's 30 different sections of commentary. Each one of them is like 30 seconds to a couple minutes long. It's probably going to be a 15-20 minute video, and I'm planning on fully editing this crazy thing. This section right here, the ending, definitely not editing this, but yeah, absolutely crazy just how much work I'm probably going to end up putting into this video. Just because of how much work I'm putting into it, please share it around. Like, I'm estimating this is probably like a 50-hour video when you factor in the scripting, the conceptualization, and the editing is going to take at least 15 to 20 hours if I had to guess. So, yeah, please share this video around. I spend a ton of time on my videos. I don't try to make money off YouTube. I only do it for fun because, yeah, that's just why I do YouTube. I think I'll end it there. Make sure to like, favorite, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next crazy nonsense video I make.